Trey Fort commits to Michigan State basketball. Is there going to be another big name added to this list for next year's roster? And then, well, yeah, a lot of injuries on the football team last year. Which players are set to have a big bounce back season? Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below. We're going to go the football route for this one. The injured player last year that you think is going to have the greatest bounce back season coming up, that is what we're going to talk about in segments 2. And then 3, a little bit more football talk with our friend Maxwell Klitzke. But first, guys, hey, this was a big weekend in basketball because, well, it got started on Friday with Tom Izzo getting that commitment from transfer out of Samford. Yes, we are talking Trey Fort. Now, we've talked about Trey Fort, quite some time here in the last week. This commitment really seemed like an inevitability. So we're going to talk about why we do like this pickup here for Michigan State. I want to be crystal clear with this. We are pro what Tom Izzo is doing, at least on this show, in the offseason. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the fanfare. This isn't like your top 10, top 20, even top 30 transfer guys. But this is just the way Tom Izzo has done it. This was what we said was going to happen as we went into the offseason. It wouldn't be these guys that have big price tags on them, guys from other Power 5 schools. No, it was going to be guys like, Caleb Glenn over at FAU, who they got earlier in this cycle, and also Trey Fort, a guy that was from a mid-major school in Samford, a guy that is used to having the ball in his hands. And let's just start talking about that right now. Why we do like this Trey Fort pickup, because, first and foremost, guys, Michigan State had a little bit of an issue shooting the three-point ball last season, did they not? They were never out of the 300s when it came to three-point percentage. They started the season slow. They ended shooting it a little bit better, but still never clawed out of that bottom of the barrel category. So Trey Fort shoots 38%, and he does it on high volume. Okay, this is not going to be a shock for him when he has an increased role here at Michigan State. This isn't someone that is really not comfortable with the ball in their hands. No, Trey Fort averaged a little over 6 3-point attempts per game, and that's not all that was good about his game. He also shot 50% on long 2-point field goals, 54% on just 2-point field goals in general. So that's whether it's layups, that's whether it's that patented famous Michigan State. We're going to shoot a long 2 with our feet just inside the 3-point arc. The kind of shot that, basketball purists really want to pull their hair over, but that's what we've done here in East Lansing, is that long 2-point field goal, and that's what Trey Fort does pretty well. When it comes to catch and shoot, guys, we said this time and time again last week, he is in the 86th percentile in effective field goal percentage on catch and shoot shots. He's a shooter. He's a gunner. He's whatever you want to call him. Right now, he is a Michigan State Spartan. And what else we love about this is that he's an old guy too, right? Especially, in the world of college basketball. My man is 24 years old. That is experience, guys. And it's kind of nice to have one of these on our team now. During the NCAA tournament, every single team, it seemed like right off the bat, hey, Bryant, they got a lot of old guys, or all the way to the bitter end. Auburn. What is that guy that's 25 years old doing playing college basketball? How on earth is he able to do this? And man, this is truly like a men against boys game for some of these guys. Well, Michigan State, they went ahead and they just got themselves one of those guys, because he's able to play 6 years in college, because 2 of these years were done at the junior college ranks. That does not count against his eligibility. So, hey, you know what? We got ourselves a 24-year-old. And I know that age isn't the end-all, be-all in being good in college basketball, but, man, with that experience comes athleticism, comes just a maturity on the court, too. So Trey Fort, really solid pickup for Michigan State. And I do think it is a good reminder here, too, that he's, while plugging into that starting 2 spot for Jace Richardson, he is not going to be Jace Richardson. And this is something I said last week as well, so I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but the only guy that could possibly replace Jace Richardson probably guys that are going to be hearing their name in the NBA draft at the end of whenever the draft is, June, I believe it is. Jace Richardson is a very hard player to come by. Do not expect Trey Fort to come in here and just be a lightning rod the same way Jace Richardson was. I mean, he will be a solid player, but to make up for what Jace Richardson has left, this is going to be a by committee thing. This is going to be a big hole that Jace left on the roster, but hey, you know what? Solid enough pickup to hopefully mitigate the damage of what you lost here with Jace. So now what for the offseason for basketball? Well, I mean, a backup point guard would be really nice because the only ball handler that you have from last year is Jeremy Fears. Yes, like Caleb Glenn, he looks fine with the ball in his hands. He's far from a point guard, of course, and that is a bigger wing. Trey Fort, yes, he can dribble a basketball, but maybe not as comfortable as you'd hope for a point guard to be when Jeremy Fears isn't on the court. So you want to go see that. Get yourself a backup point guard, or could this offseason actually have a little bit of star power to it? Because, guys, to start this weekend, there was some exciting news that broke, and it is that Darius Adams, 5-star McDonald's All-American, top 30 kid, committed to UConn, signed his letter of intent. Well, he is being asked to be relieved of that. What's the word? Letter of intent. I almost said NIL. Letter of intent. So he is back in play. Now, why are we talking about Darius Adams? Is it just because that we just get so excited whenever anyone with any star power, it just is released from that letter? Well, yeah, sure it is, but there's actually some buzz to this one. Because Darius Adams, it is well thought that Michigan State was the runner-up in his recruitment. And no, silver medals in the world of recruitment rarely get you anything in life, but it could actually here because, well, he knows Michigan State. He officially visited earlier this season and, of course, went on to UConn. But Michigan State coaches and him have had this previous relationship. And, yeah, there are roster spots on this team, specifically at the 2 position. Now, will Michigan State have competition if they do want to, go out and try to re-recruit this kid? Of course they will. Like Tennessee, okay, they were also in the Final Four. Alabama also in the Final Four. I've also heard Louisville's name thrown around here. Indiana could be hot after him too. There's going to be no shortage of teams that are going to be trying to get Darius Adams on their team. But here's why, it would be great. I like Darius Adams. He is a 5-star for every reason that you want him to be. He's a 3-level scorer, kind of like Jace Richardson was last year. He's got a nice body size, 6'5". That's solid on the wing there. This kid's also really solid in transition, very fluid in transition. And hey, over here in East Lansing, we like ourselves some transition basketball. So I really think he would fit like a glove in with this team. But here's where I pump the brakes, maybe caution not to get too excited, because I do wonder if or how it would work out here. Because if you do get him, I still think you would need a backup point guard. Does Tom Izzo really want to get, I know he would be technically a recruit for this year, but just for the sake of conversation, 4 guys in this offseason. You already got your 2 transfers, the guy we just talked about, Glenn, Fort. Adams would be number 3. Is he going to add a 4th guy in a backup point guard? That'd be something that Izzo hasn't done. It's just adding this many new guys combined with your 2 recruits that you have in one offseason. But hey, maybe he's going to change a little bit with the times. I don't know if it's going to work out like that. But even if, hey, this is your last guy, if you get Darius Adams, you're not going to go out and get a backup point guard. Can you make it work? Can you survive the 10 to 12 minutes ideally per game that Jeremy Fears isn't on the floor? Can you do it without a true ball handler? The kid is talented enough that, yes, maybe you can get by without a true point guard, but I don't know. I think everyone would be a lot more comfortable, the staff included, if they did have someone that is a, experienced point guard and not a true freshman. That's not an actual point guard out there. So that's where I see it, but I really have a hard time getting over this hump too. Is that if you get Darius Adams, not only did you get Trey Fort, which you needed a starting 2 guy, a guy that is experienced. And even with that, okay, Kurt Tang is still going to play his solid amount of minutes. If you get a Darius Adams, though, that's really going to cut into Kurt Tang's playing time, development, whatever you want to call it. And is this going to stunt his growth even further? And if we know anything about Izzo the last few years in the transfer portal era, it's that, is he going to really recruit over his own guys and stunt their development? So that's why I kind of maybe hit the brakes as to maybe why I don't see this working out. But I would love to be wrong. I for one, Call me the hot take artist. I, for one, would love to have the McDonald's All-American. I think he would fit great with his team personally. It's just everything that we've known about how Izzo builds the roster and the guy that he ran out and just got, Trey Fort. I guess what do you even do with him at this point? So it seems like that two positions already going to be set up. So that's why I don't think Darius Adams will be coming to Michigan State. But, hey, please prove me wrong. I'm begging you. I'd love to get on here and say, ha-ha, egg on my face. It looks like they did get the McDonald's All-American to this recruiting class. That'd be great. All right, guys, we're going to have football talk here in a hot second. But first, need to talk your ears off about Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. We're talking Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you will find exactly what you are looking for, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals have already trusted their work with Supply House, so what are you waiting for? Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's over at supplyhouse.com. A strapping gentleman out there on Twitter, type the following sentence, and this is going to set the table for our conversation with Maxwell Klitzke. Now, who's to say this tweet actually came from? I don't know. Maybe you'll figure it out, Maxwell, but here it goes. It goes. A total of 24 players landed on Michigan State's availability report last fall. 21 listed as out at least 1 week. 9 of them season-ending injuries. 16 players listed on the report in multiple weeks. Just 4 weeks where 5 or less players were listed. Now, that is the opening week of the season, week 1. Another one was week 7, which was a bye week. The other one, week 9 against Michigan. And then the other, week 11, which you got that right, was another bye week. It was a horrible season in the injury department for Michigan State last season. Was it the only reason things got so bad? No. Was it a reason? Yeah. But hey, Maxwell, this is going to set the conversation table just ever so perfectly because we're going to start with, hey, what player that was injured last year is going to have the biggest bounce back season coming up? Before we get to that, though, what was going through your head as you typed all that out? We're going to just go ahead and spoil it. It was you that tweeted that.
Yeah, it was
do you remember
me.
it being that bad? Like, did all those memories come washing back to you?
Honestly, when we were kind of talking about it before, you mentioned of like selecting 55 players to choose from. Mm-hmm. And turns out almost being halfway there felt like more, but also at the same time with how things felt also way less than what it actually was. But yeah, it was just going through last year's availability reports and just seeing, 5 guys. Oh, 5 guys. Oh, out for the season. Oh, this one's a little light, but it's when you think about it, all the other out for the seasons don't have to get listed on the report anymore. So it was bad. And like you said, it wasn't everything, but it was.
It's not nothing. It's not nothing.
It was a bigger reason of why the season, at least toward the tail end, with those winnable games that we had in the backstretch of 4, went the way they did. So it was tough. And hey, the benefit of having 21 players missing games is you essentially get a whole portal class out of it, essentially, if you want to look at it that way.
There we go.
9 guys that didn't play a full season. Guess what? You get them all back. So
yeah, fresh legs, maybe. Fresh and bruised and scarred up, but fresh nevertheless here. And right. I'm going to stick with the offensive side of the ball for my guy who I think could have a breakout year that was on the injury report for the bulk of last season. And, well, I do think, Gavin Broch is really strong offensive lineman. Also, Khristian Phillips. I'm a big Dooley fan. I think, hopefully that he recovers from his injury just fine. He was Michigan State's top pass blocker, according to Pro Football Focus, for all 60-whatever snaps he was even available for last year. But I'm going to go a little bit outside of the offensive line because I've got the eye on Michael Masunas here. Now, I know that Jack Velling, he came in with all the fanfare last year. He was the leading tight end touchdown catcher when he came to East Lansing. And I did no favors in stoking those flames. I was a very loud proponent of the Jack Velling fan club, and a lot to be desired with the tight end position. But for those first 4 weeks, Michael Masunas, he did start all 4 games. He was Michigan State's best pass blocking tight end, and also he wasn't a total dud in the passing game. So I think Michael Masunas picking up where he left off, I think he does start the season back in that starting role. And with the amount of 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends that Michigan State does run, I think Michael Masunas can be primed for the season that he was really set out to have last year before, well, he joined that infamous club of guys that just missed the last 2-3 months of the season. So I'm going to go with Michael Masunas. We did not share names before we started recording here, Maxwell. Did I take your guy, or you got someone else here for us?
No, you did spook me a little bit when you said offensive side of the ball.
Okay.
It's not my pick, but just to touch on the chalk answer here is probably Dylan Tatum with
of course.
his versatility on the defense. But I decided to go on the offensive side of the ball like you. And you and I, my friend, are 2 members of the Big Dooley fan club.
Yes, let's
because
go,
I
baby.
think that we were relying on Khristian Phillips to have this kind of breakout, okay, it's your time now, you won your spot situation on the right side of the offensive line in that right guard spot. And to have him go down in the first game of the year was brutal. Even first half, I think it was a similar thing to like, Tatum and then Darius Snow the year before. You just you lose them before you can even see what you had with them. And it's a big issue because that's when the line started shuffling, and then you lose Gavin Brocious the week after. And that whole entire right side of the offensive line is what it was, and it wasn't productive for the offense at all. That relies on a lot of play action and getting pushed to be able to run the ball. And it's one of those things where you would have loved to have him take his lumps, even be take this offensive line to a 70th ranked offensive line in the country, as opposed to probably in the 110s, or the 120s, where it felt like it was all season. So Big Dooley's my answer there, just because I think having, sustainable and consistent and cohesive offensive line play, helps with everything. Guys are required to block in this offense. You can't really shy away from it. To your point, Masunas is our best blocking tight end.
Right.
Velling is, probably the most talented player in the room, but, I think even he would say it himself that pass blocking and run blocking is something that he'll, need to have, especially to succeed at the next level. So it's something that he needs to work on. And I hope that's improved, but, until I see it, I'm not going to believe that he has it. So it's a good thing that we're getting Masunas back. And one of these years, we're going to look at this tight end room and, Josiah Price can finally rest peacefully knowing that he's passed the torch on finally after a decade. So
make it 2025, fellas. Why not?
Yeah.
Let's just do it and be legends. Come on, guys.
This is the year.
I am really glad you brought up Dylan Tatum. I just didn't want to, completely walk by the obvious answer on defense. Of course, his season was cut short. What was it? 21 snaps, maybe not even that last year. But he's poised for a big season coming up. I hope he's recovered from that injury to the fullest, because it's not just how talented he is, but with that talent comes how versatile he is. He could play that nickel position, drop back into safety, play cornerback. He could sell hot dogs at halftime. He can do it all for this defense, especially for a defense that, need some star power here. We need a guy that has some NFL capability here coming up this year. And I don't know if Tatum's going to work his way all the way up to the NFL draft, but he might be your best shot to do it should he be fully healthy. But the greatest ticketing app in the world is Gametime. You already know that if you've ever heard this show, or even if you just run into me when I'm not recording. I've had people do this. Hey, Gametime, you just do this because they're a sponsor. No, guys, I will be using Gametime long after I even do this show, because they keep it so simple. And if you want to catch this NBA playoff action right here, Little Caesars Arena, Pistons, Knicks, guys, grab them on Gametime. And whether it's a few days ahead of time, you want to go to this game, well, they have their flash deals, which are going to save you some great money in great locations in the stadium, or let's say you're just going to walk up to the arena the day of the game, an hour before tip, you can save up to 60% off your tickets with their amazing last-minute ticket deals, guys. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word, LOCKEDONCollege, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Maxwell, can I kick the tires on someone that actually was relatively healthy, with air quotes around it, just for a second? I just want to see if this is something here.
I mean, it is your show, so I can't say no to you.
I do forget that sometimes. I'm going to say a name that's been around campus since 2017, maybe even earlier. And I don't think he's going to break out, be first team all Big Ten. But is this guy something? Is Darius Snow something? Now, I say that he wasn't injured last year. He did play in 12 games, but 202 snaps, 127 of them came in the last 6 weeks of the season. It was clear that, they were just kind of working his way back after that devastating injury he had even the season prior. But in those last 6 games, for those games, he graded over 70 on Pro Football Focus. If you want to use them as a Bible, here's a more hard, concrete stat. He had no missed tackles at all last season. He was Michigan State's best tackler going into that 2023 season. He is a solid player. If he's worked his way back to 90% of Darius Snow, who we all remember, or even could he get to 100%? Who's to say? I don't even know if he's going to start this year, but man, I think he's a really good gadget to have just off the bench in pass coverage, good form tackling. Is Darius Snow a guy to just keep your eye on? Do we not give him enough respect going into this season, or am I a little ahead of my skis here? Because no better time than the offseason to get ahead of myself.
No, if we're in a position where Darius Snow is surprising us, in a positive sense, I think it shows that the defense has been relatively. It's funny. It's the two extremes. The defense is either super healthy or they're not healthy at all, and he's performing back to the level that he was. Because the reason why he got the workload that he did toward the back end of the season was we didn't really have many other options to go to.
Yeah.
So I do think. It's such a bummer because we had such high hopes for the way his career was panning out, especially the couple huge plays that he made in 2021 against Michigan.
Sure. Just
massive plays that we were okay, 22, 23, he's going to be awesome for us. And then go to the next level. And no one wanted his career to pan out the way that he is. But if he's making significant plays, it's because the staff's finding ways to fit him in to, use him as a gadget guy, or, putting him in situations to let him just go out and be him and play free, as opposed to playing, as a down-to-down linebacker. Because I don't think that's really suits him, unfortunately. And unless he comes back this year and he looks like vintage Darius Snow that he did in 2021 and what we thought he would for 2022. Right. But trying to be realistic in that sense, I just think if we're surprised by his performance, I think it's something that we'll look back and say oh, well, the defense is getting really creative and they have the bodies. They're fresh enough to rotate him in and out that he's only playing, a couple plays a series and everything instead of being the down-to-down guy to make plays. So yeah.
You got your swim trunks on right now. Do you want to dive into the mailbag swimming pool with us? Because we got a fun question a few days ago that I would really like to address here, Maxwell. And if you say no, we can end the show, I suppose, and just go with the rest of our week and in a very awkward fashion. But
I can afford to get one more and wet, so we can just dive right in.
Because the K-Man has filled up the pool with this great question here. And we're going to also, tie some NIL in here. Wrote in, who would have been the biggest NIL headache in the pre-NIL and pre-transfer era? Saw this question on Reddit in the aftermath of the Nico Tennessee debacle and immediately thought of how it would apply to MSU. My immediate thought was that Malik McDowell's family would have been a nightmare to deal with. Can't seem to think of the past basketball guy that would also fit this bill, though. Wanted to hear your thoughts. The Malik McDowell one is a good one because, as legend has it, they wouldn't have been a nightmare to deal with. I think they kind of were, just straight up. That was a very delayed national letter of intent that was sent to Michigan State here, but I'm sorry if this is a cop-out answer. Malik McDowell, is a really good one. Don't get me wrong, but man, Maxwell, I just can't think of the hostage situation that 2013 Rose Bowl team could have had our donors in after that season, because it wasn't just one thing to be good. It also just wasn't one thing to, really be good, almost kind of out of nowhere. They had good seasons before, but never like truly that good, reaching the granddaddy of them all. No, the true icing on the cake is also how young these guys were. He had sophomores on this team. He had juniors on this team. Like, just I jotted a bunch of names down top of my head just really quick before we started recording. But Connor Cook, Jeremy Langford, Tony Lippett, Aaron Burbridge, Josiah Price, Trey Wayne, Shalik Calhoun, Tawan Jones, Curtis Drummond. I know I'm missing a lot of other key guys here. Oh, the ransom they could have held our donors to. Oh, it would have made the Detroit Lions payroll seem like nothing. Just with
it would have made the Dodgers payroll look bad.
Yes, deferred money going to 2037 is what Matt Ishby, whoever the big donors were back then, would have paid. But yeah, I'm sorry, it's such a cop out to just blanket it over a whole team. But oh my God, that would have been just a cardiac arrest filled offseason. Just wondering, okay, who are we keeping? Can't make everyone happy. How much are we giving these guys? Because we've got the train rolling here with a bunch of young pups.
Yeah, it's literally everybody on that team. And you would like to think too, like you'd like to be like, no, they loved MSU so much. Like,
yeah, you also love money though. Yeah,
they're smart dogs. Like, come on, let's go. If you don't think Connor Cook would have had the entire front office of MSU football in a straitjacket about, getting what he demanded.
Starting in week 7 too. He wouldn't even done the Nico thing, wait until the spring. It would have been mid-season for some of these guys.
Yeah, the perks and things we would have seen him drive around campus in. Like
it wouldn't even be called Rick's anymore. It would be called Cooks at this point.
No, yeah. Yeah, he would have been riding around in something a lot nicer than his infamous kind of orange moped you would see him ride around in. Like, no, he would be in something a lot better than that. But yeah, no, I looked at that team too because I was just like, who on this list? And then I did the fan thing of like, no, they loved being here.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Pay me my money and pay it now.
Yeah, seriously. But my kind of pick, I looked at basketball just curious to see. Again, like with this team, it's like, no, like they love MSU. They love Tom. Like, why would they? I have one. It's more of like a discussion.
Okay.
I don't think it's controversial.
Okay, try us.
There was a guy who played 36 games as a freshman. Averaged 5 points his freshman year, went on to average 8 points his sophomore year, 14.5 his junior year, and then 19.2 points per game. Was AP Player of the Year, first team All-American, first team All.
I do like this.
Do you think Denzel stays all 4 at any point?
Wow. There is a world where I think it happens, and maybe I am falling into that fan trap of just, hey, everyone loves Michigan State. East Lansing, he's a Lansing born and bred kid. Great relationship between the Izzos and the Valentines, but oh boy, like in this day and age, you fast forward the clock full 10 years. I mean, damn, Maxwell, like Trey Holloman just left after a captain season where he had an established role on this team, but even he wanted more of an increased role. Mm-hmm. What did he average sophomore year?
8 points. And I think that team,
I can see him wanting more. I can see him wanting a little more, man.
But I think this is like, I think in this 2013-14 team, like
stacked team. It was a really good team.
Like I think Gary Harris is still on this team.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, like Appling is still on this roster. Gary Harris is still on this roster. Like, does he want a bigger role in year 2?
Wow. Give me no.
Even if he stays after year 2, does he go somewhere else again for his junior year? Because he only, maybe he stays after his sophomore year Maybe freshman year is really the big one because he starts 32 games in 2013-14. So maybe. But
that is like the epitome of a coin toss, though. I truly don't know.
The wrinkle here is that if he wanted to leave after a sophomore year, we don't get Denzel junior and senior year.
No.
And I know he transferred for family reasons and everything, but do you still get Bryn Forbes?
Oh, wow. Lansing guy. Probably always wanted to play
again,
Michigan State,
teammate.
but wow, you know what? His running mate too, and Denzel. Whoa.
We've seen it so many times in this portal era too, where like guys will they'll go and follow their teammate. So,
arguably have seen it in Caleb Glenn joining, his old high school teammate, Jeremy Fears. Yeah. Oh man. That's a tough question. Look at you, just asking coming on as a guest and asking the hard-hitting questions. Look at you, Maxwell, in your bag right now. Let's go.
Yeah, ultimately, it's like a coin flip. I think you're right. I think it's a coin flip after his freshman year, and I think once he gets his role established in his sophomore year, he likely carries out his career. But, I mean,
you truly never know.
You have two NBA guys ahead of you. You're starting, but you have a guy like – off the bench behind you as the sixth man, like, would you want that role? And it's just, I mean, interesting.
I got one last question from the mailbag, and this actually came from my own brain because I'm watching Shedeur Sanders. He's getting his number retired at Colorado after going 13-12 in his career. Now he does have the all-time passing yards record at Colorado. Like, he is a fine player, but there's still some guys from that national title team, prominent players that have not had their number retired. It seems a little silly, seems a little ceremonious that he's getting his number retired. You want to do Travis Hunter, Heisman winner? Never going to hear an argument out of me. But really quick, Michigan State guy that just like in a ceremonious way that you would want to have retired here at Michigan State. I'm just going to go with friend of the program, Brian Lewerke. Hey, you want to give Shedeur Sanders his number retired because he was Alamo Bowl MVP? How about Holiday Bowl MVP? How about Pinstripe Bowl MVP? And how about top 5 also in passing yards? And I think passing touchdowns too for Brian Lewerke. So it's not enough to have billboards for him. We're getting at number 14 in the Ring of Honor. That's my candidate right there, Maxwell. Who do you got for your guy?
If we want to go, I mean, funny answer would be like the Illinois basketball answer is like is K9 is just putting K9.
Yeah.
Another funny one and done one, just because it would just be hilarious vibes, is to see Keon Coleman's number 0, like just in the,
wow, you want turmoil
just
in
the Ring of Honor, just the Ring of Honor. That would just be very funny because, like, he transferred to Florida State for brighter pastures, but like we still, it's like it's Keon. Like we love Keon.
Great social clips.
Like
very fun loving.
We love Keon. But probably I just had it in my brain, but lost it.
Is it Derek Harmon after he sacks Jalen Hurts to win the NFC Championship game this year for our Detroit Lions?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
it's whatever.
Good.
Yeah,
bring
whatever
him home.
Whatever Spartans in the NFL next.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, retiring Connor Cooks would have been kind of funny after.
That's like a serious one though. Like you can actually make an argument for that one.
But like immediately after, like what again, like they're capitalizing on these players being in, talked
That's
about
true.
And everything like
the
that.
Timing does mean a lot here. Yeah.
And it's not like they'll be traded back to that team again. Like they're never playing for them, so they're capitalizing that. But like general, we need to just like wait on all of that in general. So like now doing Connor Cook would still seem like early, and you could probably say like, hey, there's guys probably that we should put up here before him. But he would be one that I think as well, that would probably be like the most like a quote unquote serious one, but like they're not being serious by throwing these guys banners up right now anyway. So like, why should we be serious about picking who? So that's why
serious anymore. Right. Yeah.
That's why, mid-April 2025, I'm starting the Keon Coleman Ring of Honor campaign.
Agent Zero himself. Let's go.
We have enough push. Head taps. This ain't no duck goose.
Oh my God.
In Spartan Stadium.
This makes me sick.
We can do it. We can do it, everybody.
We speaking French over there. That's goodness gracious. Well, folks, as always, with great ideas. Maxwell Klitzke. Hey, thanks a lot for joining the show again, man. Always a hoot and a half. And fine, you know what? Since you're such a great guest, you're always gracious with your time. Fine, I'll join you in this crusade to get the Keon Cole up in the Ring of Honor.
Where it starts.
For whatever reason. All right, guys. Well, until we get those flyers taped on every light post in East Lansing, we will be back. It's Locked On Spartans. We do this 5 days a week. Hey, take care of yourself this week. Love you all. Go Green.